Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Wired to Be Rich, the space where we don't just talk about wealth in dollars and cents. We talk about wealth that comes from being deeply connected to yourself, your growth, and your truth. Today, I want to dive into a topic that has been life-altering for me. How do you reclaim your individuality in love? How do you stay true to yourself in the midst of intimacy, connection, and partnership? And how do you do it in a way that honors both you and the person that you're with? If you've ever felt the pull between wanting to be whole on your own, but also deeply connected to someone else, this episode is for you. So let's get right into it. Let's start by exploring why we feel like we lose ourselves in love. Society romanticizes the idea of "you complete me." And it's a beautiful sentiment, but it's also very dangerous. Because when we believe that someone else completes us, we're already giving away our power. You're not half of a person. You're a whole being. And love should be about two people coming together, not two halves trying to make a whole. But here's the tricky part, and this is something that I'm also learning myself. Love is vulnerable. It's expansive. It asks us to give, to pour, to open ourselves up in ways that we may not have before. And sometimes in that process, we start to blur the lines between where we end and the other person begins. Recently, someone said something that stopped me in my tracks. Losing yourself in love isn't bad. It's who you lose yourself to. And when I heard that, it shifted my entire perspective. It made me realize that the problem isn't the act of giving in love. It's losing yourself to someone who doesn't honor or support your individuality. That revelation amplified my belief that individuality is key to feeling whole within yourself first. This pull between individuality and connection often comes from fear, and the fears exist on both sides. On one side of the coin, you have the fear of losing yourself, where you might fear that if you give too much, you'll lose your identity, your passions, and your goals. Or you might fear that the love will consume you, and you'll wake up one day feeling like you're living someone else's life. On the other side, you have the fear of losing the relationship. You might fear that prioritizing yourself will make you seem distant, selfish, or maybe even unavailable. You might worry that by setting boundaries or choosing you will hurt your partner or even risk losing them. And both fears are valid, but they can't dictate your choices. Love that's built on a foundation of fear will always feel fragile. True love is built on respect, trust, and the ability to hold space for both people to grow. Here's where it gets a little bit deep, though. Reclaiming your individuality isn't about choosing yourself at the expense of others. It's about choosing yourself in harmony with the relationships that matter to you. Let me say that one more time. You can honor yourself and honor the people who are emotionally affected by your decisions. It's not either or, it's both and. But this requires a mindset shift. Instead of thinking, if I choose myself, I'm hurting them, try asking, how can I choose myself in a way that's loving and considerate to both of us? If you need more space to focus on your passions, communicate that with love. Instead of pulling away abruptly, explain, this time for myself is important because it allows me to grow and show up more fully for us. Or if you're feeling uneasy about the direction of the relationship, don't ghost or avoid. Be honest and compassionate about where you're at emotionally. And remember, honoring yourself doesn't mean abandoning the person. It means ensuring you're showing up as your best self, which benefits everybody involved. One of the most overlooked benefits of reclaiming your individuality is how it prevents burnout and unnecessary arguments in a relationship. When you stay true to your beliefs, passions, and needs, you create a foundation of inner peace that radiates outward. And here's what that looks like. It looks like respecting your own time. So like if you love working out or spending Sunday mornings journaling, honor that. When you don't, resentment can build because you feel like you're giving up pieces of yourself. It can also look like being honest about your needs. So imagine you're feeling overwhelmed, but pretending everything is fine just to avoid conflict. I do this often. That can lead to an eventual explosion. So instead say, I need some time to recharge today, but I'm looking forward to connecting later. Or it could be, you're staying aligned with your values. So for instance, if family dinners are sacred to you, but your partner wants to skip them every week, it's important to express why they matter to you. Honoring your values helps avoid arguments rooted in miscommunication or unmet expectations. By respecting yourself first, you set the tone for a relationship where both partners feel seen, heard, and valued. Now, I'll be honest with you. Coming back into the dating world while staying true to my own journey has been a complex process. On one hand, there's excitement of meeting new people, learning about what you want, and experiencing connection. But on the other, there's this constant dance of not wanting to lose yourself in the process. And I deal with that daily. But what I've learned so far is that the confusion isn't a bad thing. It's a sign that you're asking the right questions. It's about finding the balance between vulnerability and self-protection, between giving love and holding onto your boundaries. And the key is to move through that confusion with grace, allowing yourself to feel what you feel without judgment. So, for example, I've learned to ask myself, am I making decisions that honor who I am and who I'm becoming? Or am I showing up authentically in this connection, or am I molding myself to fit someone else's expectations? Or I even ask, am I creating space for my own growth while also holding space for the other person? Navigating this has reminded me that individuality doesn't have to mean separation. You can stay true to your journey while being open to love, but it requires honesty with yourself and with the people you're connecting with. Here's the thing. This is what I'm learning so intensely right now on my journey. Love and commitment hold so much power over our everyday lives. It's like we let the idea of love dictate so much of what we do, what we want, and how we move. And don't get me wrong, love is beautiful. I'm a hopeless romantic myself. Love is transformative. But we have to remember something. You are giving this life to learn who you are outside of anyone else. People are here to help you understand your emotions, to teach you how to navigate being human. But at the end of it all, it's about who you learn you are meant to be. What are your values? What sets your soul on fire? Those are things that matter the most. Love isn't supposed to erase that. It's supposed to amplify it. So when you think about reclaiming your individuality, it's not just about boundaries or communication. It's about stepping back and asking yourself, who am I when no one else is around? What do I stand for? The more you learn to center yourself in your own purpose, the more grounded and whole you'll feel. And when you do that, the love you attract will be aligned with your highest self. One of the first things that hit me in this book that I'm reading is how Michael Singer talks about letting go of attachments. The book is called Untethered Soul, and I will recommend it every chance I get. This book is literally a hidden gem. It's called Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And in this book, he's not just talking about people. He's talking about emotions, situations, things we replay in our heads over and over. And especially those moments when you're holding on to something so tight, like a grudge or a relationship, or even just the idea of how things should be. He talks about how that's literally just attachment. Singer breaks it down like this. When we're attached, we're blocking ourselves from fully experiencing life. We're too busy trying to control, to cling, to make things fit into our expectations. And the truth is, letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're opening up. You're creating space for something better, something more aligned. This hit home for me when I thought about relationships. How many times have we held on to someone or something because we thought we needed it? Because we thought it defined us? Letting go doesn't mean walking away from love, but it means loosening that grip. It means giving yourself the freedom to see who you are outside of the attachment, and that's powerful. Singer also talks about how how we are the observer of our own emotions. We're not the one caught up in them. And he says that we're not the voice in our head, we're the one listening to it. And when I read that, I literally had to stop and sit with it for a second, because that calls back your power. I'm going to say it one more time. You are the observer of your emotions, not the one caught up in them. We are not the voice in our heads. We're the one listening to it. Be an observer in this life. How often do we let our emotions drive everything we do? We feel angry, so we lash out. We feel hurt, so we shut down. But what if you could just watch those emotions instead of reacting to them? What if you could say, oh, I'm feeling hurt right now, without letting that hurt take over your whole day or your whole vibe. This has been so real for me when it comes to dating love. It's easy to feel triggered or insecure and act out of those emotions. But when you step back and observe, like really observe, you realize you have the power to choose how you respond. You're not your emotions. You're the one witnessing them. And that changes everything. I swear to y'all. Like once you really understand that the things that you feel, hell, even the things that you think isn't your own reality all the time, you call back your power. You are an observer of the life that you create. So for instance, let's say you encounter a very hostile individual on your walk or at work one day. Your initial response would be to respond to what they're giving you because you're emotionally charged instantly, right? But instead of doing that, take a moment to sit there and say, I'm going to observe how they feel. Just listen to what they're saying and choose to not let it affect me. Doing that calls back so much power that you didn't even know that you had. Here's where Singer goes deep. He talks about how your true self isn't tied to anything external. Not your relationships, not your job, not even your thoughts. Your true self is the part of you that's steady, unchanging, and always present. And when I read this, I started thinking about how much we let other people and things define us. We build our identity around being someone's partner, someone's friend, someone's something. But who are you when all of that is stripped away? Who are you at your core? That's the question Singer asked, and it's what I'm asking you today. This really ties into what I've been learning recently about love and individuality. Love is beautiful, but it's not meant to define you. It's not meant to compliment you. People come into your life to help you understand yourself better, but they're not here to complete you. That's your job. And honestly, it's the most important one. Here's what I love about this book. It's not telling you to detach from life completely. It's not about being cold or distant or indifferent. It's about letting go of the stuff that blocks you so you can actually live, so you can experience love, joy, pain, and growth without getting stuck in it. Singer also talks about how life is always moving, always flowing, and our job is to flow with it. When you resist, when you cling, that's when you suffer. But when you let go, you're free to experience life in its fullest form. That's what I want. And that's what I'm working toward. I won't lie. Putting this into practice is hard, though. I can't lie about that. It's one thing to read about letting go and observing your emotions, and it's another thing to do it when you're triggered or in the middle of a tough moment. But I can tell you this, the more I practice and the more I feel that freedom Singer talks about. And in relationships, I'm learning to loosen the grip. I'm learning to observe my insecurities instead of acting on them. And most importantly, I'm learning that my worth doesn't come from anyone else. It's already in me. The key to reclaiming your individuality is staying grounded in who you are. And here are a few ways to do just that. You start by reconnecting with your why. Why did you start this journey of self-discovery? What are your passions, your dreams, and values that light you up? Write them down and revisit them often. The simple fact that you're even listening to this podcast or that this podcast even entered your atmosphere of reality is the biggest sign that you are on a path of self-discovery and becoming your most abundant, whole, rich self. Create rituals for yourself also. Whether it's journaling, meditating, or spending time in nature, have practices that keep you connected to your inner voice. These rituals remind you of who you are outside of the relationship that you encounter. Next, you want to set boundaries with compassion. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about creating space for what matters. So, for example, you might set aside specific times for personal projects or alone time and communicate that clearly to your partner. That's you setting boundaries with compassion. You can also stay present in both worlds. When you're with your partner, be fully present. Or not even your partner, your friend or colleagues, whoever you're around, family, be fully present. When you're focusing on yourself, be fully present there too. This duality allows you to give best to both. Lastly, you should reflect regularly. Check in with yourself regularly. Are you still honoring your individuality? Are there areas where you started to compromise too much? Reflection ensures you stay aligned with your true self. Here's a thought that might shift how you see this process. Reclaiming your individuality isn't about separation. It's about integration. It's about taking the fullness of who you are and bringing that into the relationships that you have around you. When you're rooted in yourself, you create a dynamic where both people can thrive. Another deep truth is that choosing yourself is not selfish. It's an act of love, the highest act of love if you ask me. When you honor your needs, you're modeling for your partner how to honor theirs too. And that creates a relationship built on mutual respect and authenticity. While we constantly are evolving as we age, you can still honor yourself and be whole before overcommitting to a partnership. This means understanding your core values and ensuring your growth isn't dependent on someone else. Your evolution doesn't have to be put on hold for love. Instead, love should be the safe space where you continue to evolve. Reclaiming your individuality in love is a journey. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about being intentional. You're allowed to love deeply and still prioritize yourself. You're allowed to grow, change, and evolve even within the context of a relationship. And you're allowed to communicate your needs with compassion, knowing that the right person will respect and support you. So as you move forward, start asking yourself, am I showing up fully as myself in this relationship? Am I creating space for both love and individuality to coexist? Am I choosing myself in a way that honors the people that I care about? Those are things that I want to leave you with on this episode. Because it's a powerful feeling to really call back your truth and call back your power. Once you do that, you are completely unstoppable. And you truly learn to detach from everything that isn't meant for you. You truly learn to really embrace the life that the universe has granted you with in full. You become a whole different person. The best version of yourself. Now, before we wrap things up, let me give you a little sneak peek of what's coming in the next episode. We're going to be diving into something that's just as personal and impactful as love. Your relationship with money. If love reflects how you see yourself, your money habits do too. Think about it. How many of us operate from a place of fear or scarcity when it comes to money, without even realizing it? Next time, we'll explore how your emotions shape your financial reality. I'll be giving you examples of how imagining that you're making a certain amount of money and fully understanding that you have to be aligned with it. You have to trust that you're meant for more in order for more to show up for you. This is about reclaiming your power, not just in relationships, but in every aspect of your life. So get ready for a deep, transformative conversation. I can't wait to share with you. And until then, remember, you are enough, you are worthy, and you are capable of creating a life and a financial reality that truly reflects the best version of you. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Wired to Be Rich. If this resonated with you, share with someone who might need it to hear it. And remember, you are enough. You are whole, and you are worthy of love that honors every part of you. Until next time, remember, you are wired to be rich in every sense of the word. Stay true to yourself and keep building a life that you love.